How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Woo!
There we
Get
go.
those fists in the air, baby. Yeah. Come on, baby. Testify.
Testify!
Maybe turn the lights back off.
Yes, perhaps we should do that as there is a PowerPoint. My apologies. Let's just do the top front ones, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, hello everyone, and once again, welcome to Addicted to Repo. I am Marley, aka Rossi Largo, and this.
Robert, aka Grave Robber. Or Grave Robert, perhaps.
I'm Nick, aka Amber.
I'm Ashford, aka Nathan.
I'm Veronica, aka Shiloh.
All right, and we would also like to thank Bridget back there, who very kindly agreed to step in and help us out with some lights and some background vocals.
Thank you, Bridget.
Very kind of you.
Thank you. And all of you for showing up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So our first question is, what is Repo, the genetic opera? And in order to answer that, we first have a little movie to show you. All right. Can everyone hear me all right, by the by?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, that means I don't have to struggle with a microphone. So, as you can see, Repo is about a dystopian world set in the not too distant future where most of the human race has probably gone extinct, and those who remain are caught up in this completely materialistic, completely self-absorbed culture of surgery and this addictive drug called Zydrate. And it follows this young girl named Shiloh, who is right over there, and her father, Nathan, right there, who has a little bit of a secret. Maybe just a little bit. I don't know, for what I think Repo is about, though, is so much more than that. It's really unique. It's the worlds of musicals are always sprawling and epic and hugely dramatic. And that's how all musicals are. And a lot of goth culture is also like that, and I feel like it is kind of amazing that they haven't intersected much before Repo. Repo filled a very necessary void. And also, I study Shakespeare a lot, and I see all these themes that Shakespeare used, these epic scenes of betrayal and over-the-top violence and just a lot of clashes of emotions, and that's a lot of what I see in Repo. So that's what Repo is to me.
Yeah. I guess what Repo is to me, I guess the first time I saw it was like a few years ago. I was on YouTube. I'm such a freaking YouTube addict, man. It's sad. And like, I thought this guy in this like clown makeup talking about some weird blue shit that he like injects himself with. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And then I found out there's this whole movie that this thing is from. And I watched it and I was like, wow, that's really weird. And it really is, that to me was what's so cool about it, is it's a freaking weird film, and it kind of sucks at points, and it's kind of brilliant at other points, but it's like one of these things that then I meet a few people, like Exhibit A right here, who is also into it, and it's like, whoa, this weird thing we can bond over, and it's like, yeah, so that's my initial thought. How about you, Albert, Miss Sweet?
I think you're the one who got me into Repo, actually.
Yeah, I think that's right.
A couple years back, or was it Bridget first? I think it was. I can't remember. It was a few years ago, anyway.
It might have been me. No, it must have been
It
Bridget. You've seen it
is-
already by the time I showed it to you.
Yes. Yes. Well, what it means to me is.
Pass?
Sure, yeah.
Yes. My daughter is apparently a little stage shy at the moment. It's very unlike her.
Yes.
What Repo the Genetic Opera is to me. It is a... Okay, what Repo the Genetic Opera is to me is a deep psychological thriller crossed with a love triangle, crossed with all the over-the-top emotions of a soap opera that actually has something interesting to it.
You want to pass the mic down? To Shiloh.
So, I've only seen the movie once, like a year ago. So I don't think I have much room to speak on this topic.
I've only seen it twice.
So I mostly joined the cast because of the crossover with the Rocky Horror cast.
Ah, yes, which we will get to.
Yes, we will.
We will.
All right. We had a scene from the film, or do you want to go back to?
It. Everyone's a critic.
Yeah, the sound absorption in these walls.
Intense.
It's weird.
Let's move on.
Remember when we had our panel next to the buffer room?
Yes.
Back when the buffer room was still in
Oh God,
here?
yes,
Oh,
that was a
God.
thing. All right.
And it was the Shakespeare panel too.
Yes. All right, so we are going to continue on, and we have another video for you guys. Those who have not seen it, this is the most iconic song from the film. So, another reason,
Yeah, honestly, 10 out of 10.
what, yeah. Another reason that I wanted to show you guys, that we wanted to show you guys, that scene in particular, is that aside from being, well, basically the time warp of Repo, it features two of the most interesting castings in the film. Now, one of them is Miss Amber Sweet, who is played by the infamous Paris Hilton. And yes, and the story behind her casting is completely fascinating. And some of us apparently haven't heard it either. So when she heard about Repo the Genetic Opera, she specifically wanted to play a part, even though she knew almost nothing about it. She knew enough about Amber's character that she approached the directors and said, "Hey, so do you need someone to play Amber?" And they said, "Yes, but not you." And they basically said, you are not allowed within 500 feet of our film. They thought, well, Paris Hilton. And what happened after that was, shortly after that, Paris Hilton was in a little driving accident and got a DUI. And after that, she violated her probation and was sent to jail for a very well-documented stint of jail time, basically. Some of you may even remember that. It was intensely covered by the media at the time. And what she did during her time in jail, she had someone get onto the set or get to the anyway, get her the script, sneak it in, and she spent her entire prison time practicing for Amber. That really happened.
Wow.
And when she gets out, she walks into the audition out of an outfit she made entirely out of her own closet, and stays in character as Amber the entire time, slays the audition, and after that, apparently everyone looked at each other and said, "Oh my God, that's Amber." Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I apologize greatly.
I am
You have to
so
whisper.
sorry.
We know you're there.
So sorry,
Yes.
so sorry.
But yes,
Thank you.
so
Thank you very
basically the entire reason that Paris Hilton is in this movie is because she got drunk one night and had a late night burger craving while drunk.
Oh my God. Wow. Paris Hilton.
Another one is Terrence Dunich, the other interesting casting choice, who plays Grave Robber.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah.
And
love
the
him.
very talented Mr. Zdunich, in addition to playing Grave Robber, co-produced, co-wrote, co-composed everything, as starred, and did the roughs for all the animated sequences in the film.
Bless
This
him.
is almost entirely his and Darren Smith's creation. So that is just beyond belief to me. So I just wanted to say that before we move on.
That was absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
We are moving on to Repo as an interactive theatrical experience. I might turn it over to one of my fellow Shadowcasters to handle this bit. One of my Rocky coworkers, perhaps?
Well, I feel like Ash, you've been doing it longer, so you would have more to say, but I talk a lot more, so,
Yes, you talk a lot more.
yeah. Well, okay, so how many of you know the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and you know Shadowcasting? Yeah, okay, yeah, let's get a hand for Rocky, yeah.
Woo!
Tim Curry, baby, wow. Yeah! Oh my God. So, yeah, you know about how we did the Shadowcast, you know, we'll project the movie in the background, like the Majestic, we do it a lot of times, and then we're like acting it out. I play Rocky a lot, and Ash is often Dr. Frankenfurter. So there's a similar thing with Repo, apparently. Is this a very accurate, generic description of what we do?
Very similar.
Yes. Oh, and we also shout things at the screen,
Yes.
rude insults at the screen. It's just great.
And a lot of times, this is done for more than just Rocky Horror first, but and more than just Rocky Horror and Repo, there is a wide selection of examples
Like The Room,
in
yeah.
which things are acted out, the audience dresses up, things are often thrown when the theater allows it, and the jokes that seem to make sense with the timing of the lines are shouted out. And we have a very short selection of things
cool.
that you can see shadowcasting, starting with Velvet Darkness, which 1, 2, 3 of us are in. No,
Yes.
4. 4. Shiloh
Four
is
soon,
new.
yeah.
Forgot about her.
Don't get strung out by the way I look. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm not much of a, but a lot of day. But like one of the
That's Ash.
That's Ash. That's Nathan over there.
Yeah. He's 2 jobs.
It's 2 jobs. incredibly wide range of movies that are shadowcast. There's a ton that weren't included. Labyrinth with David Bowie is a big one. The Room is one, which is, one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, Denny.
Yes. There's what was the other one you mentioned, Ash?
I don't remember right away.
Anyway, so there's a very, very wide selection of
Princess
films.
Bride.
Huh?
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. I didn't even know that one. Princess Bride, apparently. So yes, and Repo is not excluded from this. I'm going to show you some other Repo shadowcasts, but I think we should just continue talking about what shadowcasting is, especially for Repo while that plays. Is that all right with everyone up here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
Drug market, submarket. Sometimes I wonder why I ever got in. Blood market, love market. Sometimes I wonder why they need me at all.
So in addition to all this stuff that's going on, and there's a lot of it, like I said, I'm just kind of going to talk over this. There are a ton of other things that happen. There are callbacks. For example, early on, when a character is diagnosed with cancer, they are told, you know what, I'm distracting you guys. I apologize. I see the war going on here. That is an excellent example
blow-up doll?
of that is a
Wow.
sex doll.
Nice.
Oh, that's
I already
lovely.
have all the props.
This cast also has something that I couldn't feature, but a small dog playing the bug that Shiloh chases.
Oh,
with little
that's
wings
pretty
strapped onto his
sweet.
back.
I don't understand.
Interesting name.
Our Shiloh knows this cast. This was the first Repo Shadowcast ever. I do not know if they are still active.
Okay, continuing your sentence. When patients have cancer.
It was about there are callbacks as well. A lot of them. Some of you may very well know things like when a character early on is diagnosed with cancer, he is told that the disease is spreading rapidly. So the callback then is like Amber's legs.
wow.
There is another time where a character, late on in the movie, so I won't mention who, wakes up in a pool of blood, and it is customary at this point for the audience to throw tampons and shout, "Plug it up! Plug it up!" So yeah, so that's basically what goes on here.
Yeah, so Repo, I have to say something first, what I just noticed. Did you know that opera spelled backwards spells a repo? Isn't that
I'm
interesting?
so-
Coincidence?
I think not.
Yeah, I just noticed that. But so,
I wonder what else you could add to make, you could put between the title and opera to make it a palindrome.
yeah, I'll leave that to you to figure out. So, Repo, this very strange movie, what I found out, it started as this 10-minute opera, which you saw at the beginning of this presentation, The Necromerchant's Debt, which was this thing that Terrence Zadunich cooked up and was just doing it like open mics and at like goth leather and lace things, and then became this like bigger and bigger, ever more expansive thing. So, and that's what was presented here just now.
Yeah, and that eventually turned into a independent short film, which never saw the light of day, most
Yeah.
of it, and it eventually became the theatrical length film that Lionsgate produced. And I may have nasty thoughts about Lionsgate, but I probably shouldn't say them.
No.
What are we gonna do? Go to Lionsgate and tell them?
No, well, for those of you who do not know, Repo was incredibly
Budget?
no, it was given an appropriate budget for the most part, and then Lionsgate decided they wanted nothing to do with it, nothing at all, and just refused to run ads for it. All the ads were done practically by word of mouth. I think you saw the one actual television ad that ever ran, or theatrical trailer that ever ran. And then when it opened, I believe it only played as a limited engagement in 7 cities in the world, as I recall.
Yeah.
Lionsgate decided that they considered it a loss before it opened and cut themselves off from the project. Now, Repo was supposed to be a 3-parter. The film we know was supposed to be the middle one. That Lionsgate, there's supposed to be a prequel and a sequel. Lionsgate will not release the rights to the creators and allow them to create it, even though they are now making other movies and have had funding for this project for a very long time. They have instead been putting that funding towards things like The Devil's Carnival and American Murder Song, which some of you may know. So that's just one little.
Yeah, and isn't there some weird thing about how like you can't secure the rights to like do it now or something? Or there's some weird thing that's still in flux about it?
Yeah, well, what's going on is Lionsgate it completely owns the rights, even though the creators, that's all it is. They just won't release the rights back to the creators to make more films, even though the creators have the budget to create it.
But they can't use it.
So rude.
They can't use
Yeah,
it.
freaking rude, man.
Yes, it is
Secondary
completely,
action movie that's not canon then?
huh?
The secondary action movie is not canon then?
Wasn't it called Repo Man?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Oh, that.
No, wow.
I didn't even finish it.
Wow, we didn't even think
honey.
of mentioning that.
Who wants to take that on?
Well, all I know about that is just that Repo Men is like this thing with Jude Law in it that basically like ripped off the whole idea from Repo and then just put Jude Law in it, who's
And took out all
slightly
the
better known and probably
Yeah.
equally sexy as Terrence Zadunich, and like called it Repo Men, I think. And then there's Repo, which is from the 80s about like gangsters or something. And then there's Demolition Man. And these 4 things have nothing to do with each other.
Yes, but the short answer is that Repo Men is a disgusting ripoff, and don't ever watch it. And
I couldn't finish it.
yeah, it's awful. Don't watch it, and they can't sue because the studio that owns the rights to that has not disowned that. And so therefore they would have the power and money of the studio, whereas Terrence and Darren, the creators of Repo, would be paying out of pocket. They would lose, or it would be tied up in court for years. This is, Terrence Zadunich has specifically stated on his blog, this is the only reason he does not sue, is because he would lose. Are we ready to move on, you think?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, question?
Okay, by any chance, has there been a release of a summary of what was supposed to be the other movies?
Not that I'm aware of. I think, does anyone else? I think that there is still hope being held out that Lionsgate can eventually be, persuaded into making the others. Are you aware of anything else, or anyone here? Yep, that's what I thought. Fan base is still holding out some faint hope, and I think so are the creators, and that's why we haven't gotten more.
So we're the band of Firefly.
I guess we're bunkmates then.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Repo versus Rocky. Alright. Someone else start this one. I'm talking all the time. Someone else do it.
Okay, since Rocky Horror was the first movie to become a multimedia cult sensation, every other multimedia film cult has to somehow be compared to Rocky.
Which is dumb.
Yep.
And, well, in some ways those comparisons are quite fair because there are a lot of similarities in the ways that people interact. At the same time, it's kind of stupid to compare two movies about two completely different concepts.
Yeah. I guess I think of it as like Rocky created a formula, if you will, that is an independent formula, but which is forever associated in people's minds with Rocky, because for most people, I guess, that part of their brain was carved out by Rocky. So, oh, that's the Rocky Horror part of my brain or something. Yeah.
The biggest thing, I went to the original, way of Rocky Horror, and the huge thing was audience participation,
Yeah.
scripted audience participation, and bringing all this stuff, rolls of toilet paper, throw at the screen, and there was a certain amount of improvisation as the culture was forming. But I think the audience participation aspect of it was the most revolutionary, and that opened the door for a lot of other similar things.
Yeah. Well said.
So how do they get along and sometimes don't? That intrigues me.
Yes. Well, I think those of us who are in both Repo and Rocky can all attest that there is a lot of crossover in some parts of our subcultures. There are a lot of people who really, really love Repo, who also really, really love Rocky, and vice versa. There are also people who will really, really love one and cannot stand the other. I remember the first time I found this out was when we were early on in Velvet Darkness, and I mentioned, hey, why don't we SHADOWCAST Repo? And 3 people made a gagging sound, and 2 people said, why? And 1 person said, over my dead body.
Well, yeah, that's
That
the
could
point.
be a ring.
That could be a
Has he
ring.
seen Repo?
Apparently a lot of people just, there's a lot of contention and there's a lot of crossover, and for me, I have had a theory about this for a very long time, which is that Repo and Rocky are 2 sides of one story in a way, or of an idea more than a story. Rocky Horror Picture Show is a story of these two repressed, young kids who just, and they come into the situation and they sort of just expand out of themselves, and it's an expression of an explosion, really, of freedom of sexuality and doing what you want and acting on impulse, and don't dream it, be it, give yourself over to absolute pleasure, all of that. There is no, what is the line? There's no crime in...
Giving yourself over to pleasure.
There's no crime in giving yourself over to pleasure. So it's about these people who are super repressed and are now like just bursting out to a number of different A number of different areas, yes. Oh man, I did not hear myself. And meanwhile, Repo is about this culture where everyone acts like that. It is all about the sex. It is all about the dressing up, the physical appearance, the sexual experiences, the just drugs, everything in excess. So, and Repo, I think, kind of has the message of what can happen when we take the message of Rocky too far. And so, to me, the reason why some people like them both is because they're the same idea, and where we belong is somewhere in the middle. But the reason why some people love one and can't stand the other is still the same reason, because they kind of have opposing sides of the same message.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I could see them both having the same message in the sense that they're both about some kind of, yeah, sure, whatever.
The sensuousness.
Yes, you said it better than I could. I was just going to say something about postmodernism. Postmodernism, that's what they have in common.
Postmodernism. Amber, Shiloh, you're very quiet. Do you two have anything to add? Shiloh. Oh.
I think there's one thing where there's sort of a perception that cult films along the line of Repo are self-consciously trying to be cult films in ways that Rocky Horror allegedly was not, which is nonsense, because Rocky Horror was very much aware of what it was. But since Rocky Horror sort of solidified the formula in the minds of the public, there's it can be, it's sort of like everything in that vein has to be compared to Rocky, and we'll feel that.
I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm rambling a bit, but
Great. Well, yeah. On that note, what about our Shiloh? Do you have any? No? We're good. Okay.
Shiloh's good.
Shiloh's good. All right. If everyone's said what their bits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that's a very good note, though. I don't know if I agree that Rocky Horror was fully aware of what happened. A lot did just happen in a way that no other cult film has. But Repo's so incredibly different, you just really cannot compare them. So, now, we are Petty Obsessions. That is who we are as a cast. We are just starting out as a SHADOWCAST. We are in talks with the Majestic Theater on King Street. We are, what do you think is the most important thing to say about what we do that is unique?
What we do that is unique. Well,
oh,
yeah.
over there.
emotionally supportive ensemble that we.
I don't think the mic's on. It is?
It is.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is?
We can hear him.
It's on. All right.
Got it.
That we very much rely on each other to bring out the best in everyone.
That's accurate. I don't know if that makes us unique as a cast, honestly. That's theater in general.
Well,
but
yeah.
I don't know. What I was going to point out is that most shadowcasts tend to go to the comic side of the violence in Repo. Now, we can't show you any of the violence because it's not an 18+ panel, but Repo was created by the same people who made Saw, or some of the same team anyway. And it shows. It is a very, 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 very violent film. There's a lot of stabbing, a lot of throat slitting, organs being pulled out. Yeah, there's this one point where a spine is ripped out, eye gouging, everything. Nastiness, all nastiness. And a lot of shadowcasts tend to go to the comic side of that. And what we are hoping to do is go straight to the horror. We want to make the gore super realistic to the audience. What was that type of old tiny theater that you referenced?
So French.
What does it translate to?
Theater of Blood.
All right, we're going with Theater of Blood. There was a type of theater, which I was counting on this one to remember the name of, back in, what time period would you say it started?
The mid-1800s.
Back in the mid-1800s, where they would do basically what we're attempting to do. They would spend a lot of time on the blood effects and make them really realistic and make the audience jump and be afraid and get splashed with nastiness. And that is one thing that I think really might be a lot of fun for Repo that doesn't get done. And I think that's a big deal for one thing that might make us unique, as we're leaning more towards scares than towards blow-up dolls.
Are you looking for people to join you?
Yes, and that is what I am going to right here. When you leave this, you are going to, if you want, you can come up here and grab a cast application. And you can either email it to us at the address that you are going to see printed on the application. It's two-sided. And, or you can fill it out right here with one of the pens that we will have available. So do not be shy about that. Please come join. We love you. Yeah. Anything? Okay. Any other questions?
What area are you in this area?
Yes, we are local.
Not that area.
Yeah.
I would have loved to.
Yeah.
Have a car. Do you have a website or something where we
Yes.
can find out if your
Yes,
group is
and-
performing?
Yes, and we will be giving you our social media information as well as a complimentary Zydrate vial. Uh-huh.
Complimentary.
The first one is free.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get addicted.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else? We're good? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. Remember to come up here and, if you want, fill out a cast application and reach into that lovely Zydrate blue bag and get your free Zydrate.
And that's where the contact information
That's
is?
where the contact information. Also, our contact information is attached to that. And you will need to crack the Zydrate to make it work.
Okay.
We're going to pass it out to a friend who might be interested.
Yeah.
Like if I had a car, I wouldn't mind driving up here to do it.
So did we these, is Saw a cult?
Long time no see.
I know.